Imagine walking into the grocery store, right? And instead of feeling overwhelmed by labels, you just sort of know it's good, good for you, good for the planet, no headaches.
Yeah, like an intuitive sense.
Exactly. Today, we're diving deep into the data behind making that happen, making sustainable eating less confusing, more of a no-brainer.
You shared some really fascinating research. It covers, sustainable diets, what those labels actually do, why we pick the foods we pick.
Right. And our job today is to kind of unpack all that. What does the science really tell us about eating better for ourselves and, the world around us?
Consider this your cheat sheet. We're pulling out the key takeaways, the important bits, without you having to wade through all the academic stuff.
Yeah, no jargon allowed.
Right.
We want you, the learner, to walk away with actionable insights. Clarity. You're looking for that, right?
So our mission is extracting those nuggets, giving you that shortcut to being informed, feeling, empowered to make better choices.
We'll touch on everything from what happens in the supermarket aisle to the bigger picture stuff, global food security, policy, all of it.
Okay, let's start with basics. What even is a sustainable diet? The FAO, the WHO, they define it as promoting health, obviously, but with low environmental impact.
But it doesn't stop there. Right?
No, exactly. It also has to be accessible, affordable, safe, equitable, and culturally okay too. It's a lot.
It really is. It's holistic. And let's face it, the standard American diet, the way many of us eat, it's often not hitting those marks. Not for long-term health and definitely not for the planet.
That's a key point. The current U.S. food system, broadly speaking, isn't really built for the long haul, sustainability-wise. Think about the resource use, the emissions.
Yeah, it adds up.
And this isn't just some trend, like kale smoothies one year, something else the next. This is fundamental. It's about the future of food, our well-being.
So here's maybe your first 2025 how-to takeaway from this. Start thinking about your food choices. Well, beyond just you. Consider the wider impact.
Even small thoughts. Like, is there an option here that's maybe a bit gentler on the environment? Every little bit can help shift things.
So how do we get that info? Labels, right. Front of package labels, specifically FOPL. There's a ton of research on whether these things actually nudge us towards healthier choices.
Right. Those little symbols or scores designed to give you a quick snapshot.
Here's an interesting twist. A study in Canada looked at putting those kinds of logos on restaurant menus. To see if it changed what people ordered when eating out.
And what did they find?
Well, people say healthy options are important when they eat out, but the logos themselves, maybe not enough to sway the decision on their own.
Okay, so the intention is there, but behavior doesn't always follow.
Pretty much. The study suggested that, taste, price, just plain convenience, those often win out in the moment, especially in a restaurant.
That makes sense. It highlights that our food decisions are complex. Health is one factor, sure, but it's weighed against, like immediate gratification or budget.
Totally. You're out for a treat, maybe. A little green symbol isn't suddenly going to make you want the side salad instead of the fries you were craving.
True. But there are different systems out there, right? Like the NutriScore they use in parts of Europe. It tries to give a more overall picture.
Yeah, using colors and letters like A to E, green to red, trying to make it super simple to compare, say, two types of cereal side by side.
So the goal is simplification, making that healthy choice quicker, easier.
Right. So your next 2025 how-to actionable takeaway. Pay attention to those front of package labels when you see them. Don't ignore them.
Even a quick glance can start to build your awareness over time.
Yeah.
They're designed to give you that fast info.
Okay, let's shift a bit. What about us, the consumer, our behavior, our values? The research is clear. For sustainable diets to catch on, the solutions have to fit with what people actually need and, value.
It has to resonate personally. It can't just be some abstract ideal pushed from above.
And things like health consciousness, how much you already prioritize health, seem to play a big role. If you're already health-focused, you're apparently more likely to see value in brands known for being healthy.
Yeah, it influences your perception, quality, the social vibe, even the emotional connection you might feel to that choice.
There was a really interesting study from Japan looking at younger people and balanced meals.
Yeah. What did that find?
Well, it found that certain factors made people more likely to value a balanced meal. Things like being female, being married, actually having decent dietary knowledge.
Okay, so knowledge.
Knowledge, yeah, and also having a positive attitude towards healthy eating generally, and even just having the skills to prepare meals.
So it's a mix of demographic factors, knowledge, attitude, and practical skills.
Exactly. And this is a big but, taste and price, still huge motivators in Japan, just like elsewhere.
Those fundamentals are hard to ignore.
So the next 2025 how-to is more reflective. Think about your own values. What really drives your food choices day to day?
And are there maybe small shifts you could make? Things that align a bit better with sustainability, but without, sacrificing everything you enjoy or breaking the bank.
Good point. Now, let's zoom out again. Sociodemographics, our background, age, gender, education, income, where we live, how does that shape things?
Hugely. According to studies from places like Romania and China, they show really clear links between these factors and people's diets.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, in Romania, they found that not following recommendations like for fruits, veggies, fish, even water intake, and having lower food literacy, basically understanding nutrition. That was more common in older groups, rural areas, people retired or on welfare, and those with less education.
Disadvantaged groups often face more hurdles.
Exactly. But interestingly, higher health literacy, just your general ability to understand health info, was linked to better adherence. So understanding health concepts helps with food choices too.
And China, similar story.
Pretty similar patterns, yeah. Women, people with lower education and income, and individuals with obesity were more likely to have less varied diets, less healthy patterns overall.
Wow. It really drives home how much our circumstances influence these deeply personal choices.
Absolutely. It means that any push for sustainable diets can't be one size fits all. You have to consider these different contexts, these different starting points.
Which leads to our next 2025 how-to actionable takeaway. Just recognize that your background shapes your eating habits. A lot.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself about it. Consider your own circumstances when you're setting goals. What's realistic for you might be totally different for someone else.
Okay, let's tackle a really crucial issue. Food insecurity. Not having enough food or reliable access to it.
It's a massive global problem, and it goes beyond just hunger. It seriously impacts mental health, well-being.
For sure. But there are things being done, right? Policies, regulations.
Definitely. Governments worldwide are trying different things. We talked about labeling. There's also taxes on unhealthy stuff, like sugary drinks. Rules about marketing, especially to kids.
School lunch programs are huge too, and social safety nets, food stamps, that kind of thing.
And some of these do show promise. Research points to successes with, like targeted safety net programs or tax cuts on basic foods in parts of Africa. India's work on distributing subsidized grains has also helped.
So there are tools that can work.
Yes, but the key thing is continuous evaluation. These policies need monitoring and tweaking to make sure they're actually creating sustainable food environments and not having unintended consequences. It's an ongoing process.
Right. So the 2025 how-to here is about awareness. Get informed about the policies happening locally, nationally, that aim to improve food access and affordability.
Yeah, know what's going on in your community. These things can make a real difference, and being aware helps you support positive changes.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. Plant-based diets. They're getting a lot of buzz, seen as potentially good for health and sustainability.
There's definitely growing interest. One study looked at how U.S. adults' views on plant-rich diets changed over 10 years, from 2012 to 2022.
What did they find? Still love steak.
Well, it was a bit mixed, actually. Some people did report eating more red meat over that time.
Oh, interesting.
But at the same time, there was a general sort of growing recognition among consumers that our food choices do have an environmental impact.
So maybe behavior hasn't fully caught up with awareness yet for everyone, but the awareness is increasing.
That seems to be the picture. People are starting to connect the dots more between their plate and the planet, even if dietary changes are
Which
gradual.
is still progress.
Absolutely. And even small shifts, like incorporating more plant-based meals, can really add up over time for both health and the environment.
Okay, so that's the next 2025 how-to actionable takeaway. Explore adding more plant-based meals, maybe just 1 or 2 a week to start.
Exactly. No need to go full vegan overnight unless you want to. Just experiment. Find some recipes you actually enjoy. Small steps matter.
Cool. Now, you mentioned food literacy and health literacy earlier. Let's unpack those a bit more. They sound crucial.
They really are. Food literacy is about understanding nutrition info, being able to judge food choices critically. Health literacy is broader understanding health information generally.
And you said they're linked.
Yeah, strongly. Research shows people with better general health literacy tend to be better at following dietary guidelines too. Makes sense, right?
If you can understand health concepts, you can apply them to food. Navigate labels, understand advice, see the connection between diet and overall health.
Precisely. It's fundamental for making those healthy and sustainable choices we're talking about.
Okay, so the 2025 how-to here seems pretty straightforward. Keep learning.
Yep. Make an effort to seek out reliable info on nutrition and health. There are loads of good sources out there. Just, check their
Build
credibility.
that understanding over time. The more you know, the better equipped you are.
Okay, one last big piece here, the challenges, and specifically the role the food industry plays.
Ah, yes. The elephant in the room sometimes.
Kind of. There's evidence suggesting the industry, sometimes tries to influence policies around diet, health, and sustainability in ways that might benefit them more than public
Not
health.
exactly shocking, I guess, but important to be aware of.
Very important. We need safeguards, transparency, ways to prevent conflicts of interest when nutrition policies are being developed. Public health has to come first.
And regular people, civil society groups, they have a role too.
A crucial one. Monitoring what the industry is doing, calling out potential issues, holding companies and policymakers accountable.
Right. So our final 2025 how-to actionable takeaway for today, be a critical consumer, especially of information coming directly from food industry sources.
Ask yourself, who's telling me this? What might their angle be? A little healthy skepticism goes a long way.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground. Sustainable diets, it's complex, isn't it?
It really is. It weaves together our personal values, needing clear information like those labels, needing supportive policies from governments, and understanding that bigger global picture of food security.
And those front of package labels. They can help, sure, but they're not magic bullets on their own.
No, just one tool. And we saw how much our background, our circumstances, shape our habits. Addressing food insecurity needs joined-up thinking, real integrated strategies.
Plant-based is definitely a growing area, and boosting our own food and health literacy, just understanding this stuff better, is key to navigating it all.
We really hope this deep dive has given you a clearer view of the key factors involved, and maybe some practical things you can actually think about using in your own life.
Remember, no one expects you to become a food policy wonk overnight.
No. Small changes, informed choices, they genuinely can add up and contribute to a healthier, more sustainable future for all of us.
So, here's a final thought to leave you with. We talked about personal values influencing choices, and the potential of clear labels. What if we could actually redesign our food environments?
How so?
Like redesign supermarkets, cafeterias, online apps, whatever, to just naturally, effortlessly nudge us towards the choices that are good for our bodies and good for the planet.
Yeah.
Make the right choice, the easy choice. What would that actually look like for you?
That's a fascinating question, making the default option the sustainable one.
Something to chew on.